Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to be diving into Unit 1 of AP Macroeconomics. Now, you might think economics is all about boring charts and money, but at its heart, it's really about one simple thing: choice. And believe it or not, you're making economic choices all day long. Just think about your day for a second, right? Do you spend the next hour playing video games, or do you decide to cram for that big test? Do you grab a slice of pizza with friends, or do you save that cash? Every single one of those decisions, that's an economic choice. And they're all driven by this one fundamental problem that is the absolute core of this entire subject.
And that problem is you just can't have it all. I know, it's a bummer. You don't have unlimited time, you don't have unlimited money. And this basic tension, this gap between what we want and what we can actually get, has a name. It's called scarcity.
Okay, so let's get just a little more formal with this. Economics is basically the study of how all of us, you, me, companies, entire countries, deal with this one big fact. We have unlimited wants, but we've only got limited or scarce resources to get what we want. And here's the textbook definition you are going to want to lock into your brain. Scarcity simply means our desires will always be bigger than what's available. And because of that, we're forced to make choices. We have to decide what's most important. So if scarcity forces us to choose, what's the actual consequence of making that choice? Well, every time you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to something else. And this brings us to probably one of the most important ideas in all of economics. It's called opportunity cost. Now, here's the key detail you have to remember. The opportunity cost isn't everything else you could have done. It's the value of the single next best thing you gave up. So if you choose to study for your AP macro test, the opportunity cost isn't studying and sleeping and hanging out with friends. It's just that one thing you would have picked instead, which was probably getting some much-needed sleep. This graph shows that trade-off perfectly. Let's say you decide to study for 2 more hours, moving from 2 up to 4. Now, look at what happens on the other axis. Your leisure time has to drop from 10 hours down to 8. That lost leisure time, that is the opportunity cost of getting a better grade. Okay, so we get personal trade-offs, but how does this idea work for a whole country with millions of people and tons of resources? Well, to see that, let's scale up to something called the Production Possibility Frontier, or PPF for short. Now, this graph might look a little intense, but trust me, it's pretty straightforward. Just look at the two sides. We've got pizza on one and sugar on the other. That big curved line shows the absolute maximum combination of pizza and sugar this imaginary country can produce if it's using all its resources perfectly. So any point that's right on that curve, like A, B, or C, means the economy is running at full steam. It's efficient. Every factory is running, every worker has a job. This is the ideal situation. The only way to get more pizza is to give up a little sugar, and vice versa. But what if we're operating at a point inside the curve, like D or E? Well, that's not good. That means we're being inefficient. It's like we have a Ferrari, but we're only driving it in the slow lane. There are resources, like unemployed workers or empty factories, that aren't being used. And what about a point like F, way out there beyond the curve? Well, for now, that's just a dream. It's impossible. We literally don't have the resources or the technology to produce that much. The only way to get to point F is for the entire curve to shift outward, something we call economic growth. Okay, so that's what one country can do. But what happens when two countries, each with their own abilities, decide to work together and trade? This leads us to two really important ideas: absolute and comparative advantage. Let's look at this table. Simple enough. Country A can make 10 cars or 5 bikes. Country B can make 8 cars or 2 bikes. Now, at first glance, you might think, well, country A is just better at making everything, right? But that's not the whole story, and it's not how we should be thinking about it. This is where we have to separate two key ideas. Absolute advantage is simple. It's just about who can make more stuff. But comparative advantage, that's the smarter question. It asks, who gives up less to make something? Who has the lower opportunity cost? And in economics, being the most efficient is what matters for trade, not just being the biggest. So let's actually do the math here. For country A to make 1 bike, it has to give up making 2 cars, right? 10 cars for 5 bikes. For country B to make 1 bike, it has to give up making 4 cars, 8 cars for 2 bikes. Since giving up 2 cars is less than giving up 4 cars, country A has the lower opportunity cost, the comparative advantage in making bikes. So it makes sense for country A to specialize in bikes, country B to specialize in cars, and then they trade. This way, they both end up with more stuff than they could have made on their own. So we've got people and whole countries making all these choices. But how does it all get organized? Who decides what gets made and for how much? Well, the answer lies in the most famous graph in all of economics: supply and demand. Okay, the law of demand is super intuitive. You already know this. When your favorite video game goes on sale for half price, you're way more likely to buy it, right? But if the price doubles, you'll probably wait. As the price goes up, the amount people want to buy goes down. Simple as that. Now let's just flip that around and think like a seller. Imagine you're a baker and suddenly people are willing to pay $10 for one of your cookies. What are you going to do? You're going to start baking a lot more cookies. For suppliers, a higher price is a huge incentive to make and sell more of something. So what happens when you put these two forces together? You have buyers who want low prices and sellers who want high prices. Where do they meet? They meet at that X in the middle. That's called the equilibrium point. It's the market's sweet spot, where the amount sellers want to sell is exactly the same as the amount buyers want to buy. Now, if the price gets set too high, above that equilibrium, we get a surplus. Think about clearance racks filled with stuff nobody bought. But if the price is too low, we get a shortage. Think about the crazy lines when a new gaming console drops. The market is always trying to push itself back to that stable equilibrium point. And there you have it, a quick tour of the fundamental ideas of macroeconomics. From scarcity all the way to supply and demand, it all comes back to choices and consequences. So now that you get what opportunity cost really means, I want you to think about your day. What are you choosing to do, and what's the true cost of that choice?